I'll go ahead and do the introductions to the team. We have Ryan Horton and Andy Jacobs that are going to be doing the presentation for us. They're IST's forensics leaders on our team that do collections nationwide and lead our team to do that. So in just a minute, they will be starting the presentation and discussing this. If you have any questions, definitely add the questions to the side panel, ask us questions, and we'll be answering those at the end of the session.
Awesome. I think we're going to get started. Thanks, Greg, and hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Andy, and we have Ryan Horton here as well.
Hello, everyone.
Today we're going to go over remote collections. With everything going on and today's available technology, remote collections has become a very popular topic. Luckily, we have been promoting remote collections for years. So I want to take a note again, as Greg mentioned, if you have any questions, send them forward, and Ryan will get to them in about 25 minutes. So like all collections, security and defensibility are absolutely key. The custodian's data is encrypted into forensic containers, hashed, and all remote work is done under SSL. These are some of our many standards that we follow to protect the data. Give you a second to read that one. Some of these tools may look familiar to you. Some of them are highly specialized, and this is what we use. Celebrite is very special for cell phone data. Access data, Macquisition, and Magnet are all some of the tools that we use. And again, some of these look familiar to you. All of these are collection-based and will help us going forward into our next slide. Some of the benefits of remote collections is that they're secure, cost-effective, and incredibly customer-friendly. With remote options, we minimize our impact on the custodian's daily life while doing much of that work behind the scenes. Meaning we can schedule a time, get a kit out, and work while the custodian's at lunch, dinner, and do it all, even while they're possibly working on another machine. We can collect physical machines, such as laptops and desktops, remotely either targeting specific data or full disk images. In many cases, we can collect your mobile devices remotely as well. Apple devices can be collected via remote kit, or in some cases via iCloud's file system pool. Sadly, Android devices are a bit trickier and may need to be acquired in a lab or by an analyst. Email and cloud-based resources such as Google Drive and Dropbox can be collected with the custodian's credentials and pulled directly into our data center. We can then perform analysis on it or upload its relativity for you to review. The same goes for social media. So all your data in one stop. Before we start with some standard collection options with computers, I wanted to touch base on a newer style of collection called triage. Triage collection devices can be sent out and used for a variety of things, such as targeting specific file types or folder paths. This is more of a surgical collection as it only targets certain data, but it's all logical or live data, if you will. Depending on the scope of work, this can save some money and time. It's something to discuss during a scoping call to figure out really what we need and what we want to do. Do we want to collect everything? Do we want to call it down beforehand? Is the scope going to change where we want to collect more or less? But it's a newer technology and something I want to bring up that's really, really useful for the physical images or for full computer images. On that same note, they're fantastic for high volume collections. We have the ability to send out multiple kits. We can start a collection on a machine and then move to the next machine. With the ability to store multiple collections on a single hard drive, we can send out, say, 15 kits, collect 30 machines, and then do another 30 in the afternoon. A few months ago, Ryan and I did about 80 machines in 2 days, sending out 20 kits, just from one to the next to the next. Quickly, I wanted to go over how we do some of our remote collections. One of the most common is just a basic collection kit. It's pretty simple. The kit's just an external hard drive, pre-configured with some tools on it, and then we'll FedEx this out to the custodian. This would be considered a live collection kit that we have shown here. The custodian will get it. We'll send a screen share over. We'll log in, and take over the device, take over chain of custody, and do really what we need to do. These are common for, say, servers or machines where the custodian might need to still be doing work on the back end. From there, we get done, we hash everything, and they send it back. We have options where we don't need to turn on the machine, like the previous one that we showed. We can also send the triage kit, which I mentioned earlier. This is a bootable USB that is pre-configured. The custodian gets this, boots the USB, and the collection goes to an external drive. All of this is done with the support of an analyst. We'll be on the phone the entire time. As mentioned before, the triage kit can target specific data as well as collect an entire disk. In regard to some of the more offline options, we also use tableaus that we can send out. These are forensic duplicators that can allow us to target specific data or collect the entire device, depending really what we want to do. All of this is done without the physical device spinning, the physical hard drive or collection spinning. Therefore, it's considered offline. Then the data is changed, and obviously we want to keep all that metadata intact. Now we're on to mobile phones. Totally different from the standard computer collections, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Mobile phones are fun. Everyone has one. They're always in your pocket, and they're always on. Apple devices are wonderfully easy to collect. Apples can be collected via iCloud in most cases, or again, with a remote collection kit. Sadly, Apple does update their iCloud environment often. They try to keep their protection, their security and their protection up to date. We try to get in and get data out of it. Kind of a nice game of cat and mouse. But again, we always have the option to do a local collection. Android, on the other hand, syncs different data to the cloud. Not messages and calls, but we can collect and we cannot collect that phone, but we can collect some really good data from the cloud, and that'll be on the next slide. Sadly, again, the phone, though, must be done by an analyst in a lab or on location. Yes, you saw this slide, very similar slide to this before. iPhone collections, we send out a kit. Custodian can log in with a screen share, or to the custodian, we log in with a screen share, and they do the work. It's very similar to the online collection that we talked about earlier. With this kind of a collection, the iOS data is always encrypted, kind of going back to our second slide about security being everything. Here's what we see from the cloud on the Android side of things. Well, like I said, as Androids, they're a little bit complicated. There's a lot of different phones running a lot of different operating systems, a lot of different versions, compared to Apple, where it's all Apple. But we do see some good information in the cloud. Systems, some things such as location history, search history, other linked devices, different data exports, and link accounts. So we can look here and see where do we want to go and target other sets of data. The best part about mobile phones is everyone has one. I have one, keep in my pocket, next to my nightstand, always in use. And I'm sure, like me, many of you do the same thing. You use it for personal reasons, work reasons, it's always in use. It's great. We try to get this data to you in an easy-to-view way because there is so much on there: pictures, text messages, email, you name it, location history. So what we're presenting here is a Celebrate Reader Report. We try to get the data to you, like I said, as easy to use as possible. This can be used on your local machine. I get a report, I can either call the data down after the collection or give you the entire phone and then send you a Dropbox like this. And you can see on the left all the different artifacts that we found for this case. And it's kind of how it looks. I think one of the better options would be getting this data to you in relativity. We recently were one of the few that were able to get this to where we built a custom a custom way to get data into relativity from Celebrate. As you can see, it looks just kind of the chat system you would see on a phone. Add this to the phone collection or the other emails or other collections we did earlier, and you have all your data in one spot. I think my favorite part of this is it has all the metadata to the side, and you can see the full chat thread. Email collections. Everyone has multiple email accounts. Let's just be real. Email collections can be done with the user's credentials. For individuals, this would be their personal account. For corporate infrastructures, we can easily pull multiple mailboxes. A lot of times we'll see pulling personal email accounts for people that have left their position and emailed themselves data from their corporate accounts. For the corporate ones, we can log in as an admin and pull whether it be the entire domain, multiple mailboxes, or target just a few. For personal accounts, it's obvious we need to pull. It's one account per collection, per credential, I should say. Again, this is all pulled right to our data center, nice and secure, nice and quick, where we can perform analysis or, again, get it for you to review. Much like email, cloud-based repositories can be collected with a simple custodian credential. Being that these are cloud drives, they could be massive. The collection times could vary. Like everything else, we can get this into review for you all on one platform. The best part about a lot of these is they auto sync as soon as you set them up. As you know, your phone will go to your iCloud account. Google Drive has pretty much everything you need in regards to Excel sheets, Word documents, and sharing items. We can pull all that down, maintain the metadata, and get it preserved. One of the last topics I wanted to touch base on is social media, as it seems to be everywhere nowadays. Luckily for social media, I have a full 45-minute presentation on that we're not going to get into at the moment. That just shows how much is out there. Social media can be found on your phone, your laptop, desktop, web browser, smartwatch, car, it's everywhere. We can target specific accounts, web pages, messages, and pull a variety of information, whatever you really need. With the world of social media out there, from Facebook posts, direct messages, Twitter to fitness trackers, chat systems such as Slack and Tinder, we're able to pull all of that information down from a variety of resources, cell phone, web browser, like we mentioned. Facebook posts seem to be the conversation as of recent. The full body of the Facebook post, what did someone say under a picture, an answer to a question, and watch it expand. We can get that full account collected, run keywords for the post, and get this out to review. Other options, we can provide the absolute artifacts, as you can kind of see on the left over here. Facebook has 5 artifacts shown just for one item. All of these are ever evolving and making our jobs very interesting, because there are so many of them. Their APIs update. They're all unique in their own way. Luckily, many of them can not only be collected from web crawls and API collections, but as mentioned, the custodian's other devices. Like cell phones, we can send a report using the same Cellbrite reader with the specific artifacts that you request, or get this data into relativity for you to review. If you haven't noticed, we're really good about having all of your data in one-stop shop. If you'd like a demo on this one, please reach out. We're definitely excited about showing what we can do on the social media aspect. And that is it for me. We know there's a lot out there in the world of data, and we're here to help. We hope you enjoyed our little presentation. I know it was quick, but I want to leave time for any questions. If I could leave you with one thing, data is everywhere and it's always changing. When in doubt, preserve it with a collection. Greg, that's back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I appreciate it. We have a few questions that I wanted to kind of wrap up. I saw that were posted. One, and I guess I'll kind of pitch it to Ryan, since Andy, you did most of the talking on the presentation. I know Ryan had a huge part in helping with that. But one question was specifically about Gmail, but I think this kind of goes into other emails as well, about what you can do and how you can filter that data prior to it going into relativity. So, if y'all want to touch on some options of what your collections tools can do in that frame.
Sure. So in regards to Gmail and most all email, prior to collection, we can filter by date, sender, recipient, as well as domains. We can also filter by size, whether or not an email has attachments, as well as the read status on those emails. After collection, we can process that same email account and then run keyword searches within it that cover attachments and the email's content, as well as further filtering.
Yeah, so on the e-discovery side of things and the review side of things, we see that a lot, to where our clients want to minimize what they get prior to going into review. And part of that is if they filter that data, if we do a full collection of that data prior to filtering, then we can always go back to that data if need be. So that's something that we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of. It's all good in filtering data to minimize what the review is going to be, but if search terms or filtering changes along the way, it is good to do a full forensic collection of that email, as well as hard drives or cell phones or whatever else it may be. To touch back on cell phones, we had another question, and I think we answered it already, because we showed how Cellbrite can be put into relativity and how we can review cell phone data there. But I guess the question is does everything from the cell phone go into relativity, like pictures and text messages as well?
Sure. So in regards to mobile phones, you have to treat Apple and Android a bit differently. During the collection phase with an Android device, that device has to be physically in our possession, whereas iPhones can be performed remotely. But with an Android phone, you're going to get a lot more data because the file system's a lot more open. So you can even potentially recover deleted media like photos and videos. Whereas with iPhone, your only chance of deletion recovery would be likely just messages. You can't access email. You can't pull email from an iPhone. That's a protected artifact. And then when you're in the production phase, when you're producing data from these devices, the iPhone is going to allow you, Android and iPhone is going to allow you to dump these messages into relativity. Now, at the moment, we can dump messages such as iMessages, third-party chats like WhatsApp, Google Chat, as well as normal messages, SMS and MMS messages. Those are messages sent and received using your provider's phone number. So all of those can be imported, as well as media, such as attachments to those messages. Other artifacts, such as call logs and contacts, can be exported out as a spreadsheet and imported, but there is no individual artifact support for those quite yet, but that is coming in the future.
Right, so that's pretty much almost like in log format with call logs and stuff like that. And that's what we've seen in the past with text messages, but now we can actually visualize that into relativity, which is really exciting. For us, I think you answered some of these questions along the way, but another one came up about other chat features that are typically done on the computer, like Skype and other things like that, and Slack. Can you talk about the complexities, I guess, that comes with all the different softwares and the types of collections you have to do? And so that's kind of most of the other questions revolved around how you can collect and what you receive when you collect, but this one's specific to Slack chats and so forth.
Sure. We have dedicated tools that pull from Slack, Skype, Instagram Messenger, several different third-party apps. When you start to get into the realm of corporate leaning apps like Slack and Microsoft Teams, there are specific approaches we take that ensure that we can pull all of the separate channels that live inside of a workspace, all the different servers, so you do get those messages in a very easy to review format. With Skype, for instance, there's a multitude of ways you can collect. You could pull Skype directly from the computer. When you log into a Skype account and you use that account on a PC or Mac, it does leave behind artifacts. It has offline messages stored. But sometimes the best way is to go directly to the source. So if you have access to login credentials, that's not always the case, but if you do, then pulling it directly down from Skype, you're going to get the richest information. If deleted data is a concern, then you would also supplement that collection by going to the PC, by going to their mobile phone and pulling data, and then allowing us to fuse that data together to eliminate duplicates and fill in the gaps that might exist from deleted conversations. And the production of those are usually done into an HTML report, Excel, PDF. It's really flexible in regard to chat evidence.
Perfect. So we did have a follow-up question to that while you were answering that, and I think that's great. You mentioned there's multiple tools, third-party apps per se, to do those types of collections. Can you kind of be specific on what tool we use to collect, let's say, Slack?
Sure. Andy, if you want to go back a few slides to the tool slide, that's slide number 3. So let's see, we've got magnet forensics, that's Axiom. Axiom is a great tool when it comes to internet artifacts. It allows us to carve and parse web browsing data from PCs, Macs, and cloud data. They also have a side module that allows us to pull directly from different cloud-hosted data, so Slack and Skype, Instagram, etc. Let's see. Celebrite also has a side module called Cloud Analyzer that specializes in pulling data from the cloud, and they have a lot of great third-party support for various plugins that we use to pull from other third-party messaging services that are hosted externally, such as Slack. Slack can also be pulled directly from a mobile phone using Celebrate UFED PC, which is their local PC software tool that extracts directly from the phone, which you have better success when it's an Android phone, of course, since iPhones are a bit more closed off to that kind of approach.
Yeah, no, that's helpful, because I think this screen right here, I've seen it several times as we talk through, and I hear y'all talk about a lot of these tools on a normal basis, but yet these tools or companies that are shown on the screen have multiple tools, and I think that's something that's important to let our group know that you hear Celebrite can collect cell phones, but it also can do a ton of other things, the other modules along with it. So there's always that digging into things. That's the last question I think we haven't. That we've pretty much answered everything else along the way. We tried to keep this to 20 to 30 minutes, and I think we did a pretty good job of keeping that to a short time frame to respect everybody's time now. So we will make this available via video recording, and the sales team will be able to pass that around to everybody. If anybody's interested, they can email me at gcaraway@istmanagement.com. And we just appreciate everybody joining, and just y'all have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.